And the results are in. In the case of Lance Stroll's rear left tyre, Pirelli, you are not at fault. Anyway, roll titles. It's the news we've been waiting for, and I'm sure there's the conspiracy theorists out there that are convinced otherwise. And that is the answers to what caused two blowouts to happen on the same tyre at virtually the same spot of a track at pretty much the same speed. Now, Max Verstappen was set to extend his championship lead at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, but luck was not on his side as his tyre exploded at 200 miles an hour, the second blowout on that stretch of track. Although it has to be said, luck was on his side later on as Hamilton either accidentally flicked his magic switch on or left it on, depending who you are, and didn't score points either after you went straight on at turn 1 at the restart. So as you can imagine, after the race people were looking for someone to blame, namely Pirelli. The tyres aren't suitable and you're believing the lie that it's debris were two comments that I got on the race review. Even though I never said it was debris and offered 3 or 4 reasons as to why a tyre could explode, but oh well. Pirelli has put the explosions down to, quote, a circumferential break on the inner sidewall. A very democratic and legally worded way of basically saying, sidewall tear. It's a bit like when you watch an airline safety video and they say, in the event of sudden change in cabin pressure, you know they're saying, if the roof flies off. And it was the same part on both Lance's and Max's tyres that failed. I'm sure many of you are wondering why it was the inside and not the outside that failed. Like Imola, Interlagos and Kota, Baku is an anti-clockwise track, so you turn left more than you turn right, and this is an important thing to factor in when you're talking about the loads put on the tyre. In this image on your screen, you'll see the 2013 Mercedes going through Aintree Corner at Silverstone. All very convenient, as in 2013, at Silverstone, Hamilton picked up a puncture doing pretty much what the car is showing in this particular shot. As you can see, the car is turning left. Unfortunately, Assetto Corsa doesn't have visual tyre deformation, so I'm going to have to break out the lack of Photoshop skills to try and illustrate my point here. Physics are doing their thing. It's like how, on the road, if you go through a left-hand corner, you start to go to the right, and you can see a little bit of body roll on the car. Because of the downforce being applied to the car, the laws of physics want to pull everything to the right, but the car is still going left. And because the tyres have flex in them, the tyre will deform and stretch at the base of the tyre while everything else is trying to be pulled away. I've tried to Photoshop some sort of indication here that is greatly exaggerated, but hopefully you can see what I'm trying to get at. The inside sidewall is being stretched more than the outside. Now that stretch is going to happen across the whole tyre as it's rotating. It's also deforming at zillions of other points across the tyre, but we're just going to focus on lateral loads here. Well, to a point anyway. As the car then travels down straights approaching speeds of over 200 miles an hour, the tyre is being stretched away towards the rear of the car due to the spinning of the wheel. So imagine an elastic rope and swinging it really fast above your head. The faster you spin it, the longer it stretches. So in this case, the faster you're going, the more that sidewall is stretched on the inside. Now in the case of Stroll and Verstappen, they both gave out as the cars got close to their fastest velocities over that lap. Imagine taking a plastic ruler. A few bends, it'll be fine. Keep doing it and the structural integrity of the plastic just gives up and now you've got two 6-inch rulers over one 12-inch. So is it Pirelli at fault then? Not necessarily. In my previous video on this subject, albeit slightly incorrectly written out in the on-screen graphics, if you increase the pressure in a tyre, or a football, or a balloon, it becomes much more rigid. Take the air out, and those objects are a lot more squishy. In a racing car, take pressure out and you get more grip at the expense of tyre wear and the tyre is harder to heat up, but if you put more pressure in, you get a structurally more stable tyre that has less wear, is easier to get heat into, and offers less rolling resistance. Pirelli has a minimum starting pressure for safety purposes, as had Goodyear, Michelin and Bridgestone before. There are actually some articles out there on an internet that think that the blowout seen at Indianapolis in 2005 were the result of Toyota running pressures too low, because it was the two Toyota cars that had the failures, and no one else did. And I'm not saying that I agree with that, by the way. The issue is these minimum pressures are taken when the tyres are fitted to the car, and we have precedent for this. Mercedes at Monza in 2015 when they told Hamilton to get a stomp on due to concerns with tyre pressures. when they bolted the tyres onto Hamilton's car prior to the start of the race, when those pressures are taken, they were above the minimum required pressures. If you underinflate the tyres, put some heat in with the tyre blankets, then the pressure goes up and you can effectively dodge the system in that way. It also needs mentioning at this point that there is a maximum temperature that they will measure the tyres at as well to stop teams roasting them to get the pressures up when the checks are made. It is implied that this is what Aston Martin and Red Bull tried to do in Baku. Like Mercedes at Monza in 2015, Pirelli and the FIA were satisfied that Stroll and Verstappen's cars had complied with the regulations. However, on an anti-clockwise track, the left side tyres don't take as much of a hammering as the right side tyres do, so temperatures and pressures can drop, things snowball, and bang, you've got a hole in your tyre. So what's going to happen now then? Well, Pirelli has bumped up the minimum pressures for tyres after running on track, much like there's a minimum amount of fuel after the race for the French Grand Prix this weekend. Whether starting pressures have to go up as well remains to be seen, but if the end pressures need to be higher, then surely starting pressures have to go up as well. And these checks will be done at random over the course of the race weekend, but don't be surprised if a green car and a blue car are the first ones checked. And get the tinfoil hats on now, lads, because higher tyre pressures means that teams that struggle to heat the tyres up, like, Mercedes, will have a little bit of a helping hand here. Pirelli has also concluded that these blowouts were not due to manufacturing defects and also not due to car faults. But while the implication is that Red Bull and Aston Martin tried to do a Monza 2015, there is also speculation that teams are trying to find ways of limiting the rise in pressures while out on track, while still following the starting guidelines. Because if you can get more grip, you might as well. So what's the opinion from the viewers then? Logical, or Pirelli chatting BS to cover their own backs? It's probably a bit of both, to be honest. And I'm sure there are people out there who will want Pirelli to be at fault because their driver was a victim in this instance. As always with this series, leave all relevant comments in the comments section and get a discussion going. It is why this series exists, after all. And if you are scrolling down to leave a comment, why not like the video if what you've just heard has been interesting, and subscribe for more F1 news reactions and stuff to do with the real world of motorsport, particularly the history aspect of it. Massive thanks, as always, go out to the good folk of Patreon for their continued support, and if you wish to join them, or just join in the Discord stuff, I'll leave all relevant links down in the description box for you. So until next time, I've been AdmiralLaWind, have a great day wherever you live in the world, and I'll see you all again soon for another video. So until then, goodbye.